special meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Kyle to order. Frank, you want to start with roll?
Daniel Harper,
Present.
Michelle Lopez,
Present.
Clara Rodriguez, David Salazar, Brad Kaufman.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you,
Mr.
sir.
Chair.
All right, now we will open citizen comment. It is also 6:30.
Mr. Chairman, really quickly, they will only hear you if you unmute when you speak, so just reminder.
Oh, yeah, you gotta turn on your, go from red to green. All right. And I do not believe anyone is here for citizen comment. So we will close citizen comment at 6:31. Next on the agenda is executive session. I don't have anything necessarily for executive session on my agenda, and I'm not sure if my fellow commissioners have a need to go into executive session, and if not, we'll move into our next item, which is our management report. And with that, I'd like to introduce Steve, right? I get her? No. Yeah, Steve, so, who is our new third external management firm, and I turn it over to you, my friend.
Okay. Well, thank you. I did not bring a written report. I'll give you all a update on where we're at this time. Some of these things y'all may know and some of you don't know. So, when we took over, of course, HUD was pressing y'all to get somebody in right away, and so we got all our paperwork done, sent it to y'all, you signed it. I sent it up to HUD, and then we never heard from them. When the 1st of September came, I had not heard from them, so I emailed, and she emailed me back, Darlene Hines, and she said, we'll get back to you by October 1st. So as a result, I have not been managing, officially managing the Pete Dressen housing. We've just been focusing on the Charles Young. And so I brought a bunch of people up. We went through every unit, walked every building, exterior, went through all the resident files, found a lot of work to do. We did focus on getting, there was 4 vacant units. We focused on getting those occupied, or I'm sorry, made ready for occupancy. And with Daniel's help, I met a guy by email from the city, and he put me in touch with somebody else who put me in touch with a plumber, because I found out that we just can't have our maintenance man pick the gas up and turn the stove on. We've got to actually get a certified plumber to come out and do it, and then a permit from the city. It's a lot more involved than what I'm used to in most places. At any rate, just today, I talked to the plumber. He's got everything ready for inspection. They've all passed the city inspection. So now we can start the process of getting those 4 units occupied. My people that have been working here on a daily basis since the beginning of September have been reaching out to people who had put applications in, and she'll be ready to get those units occupied sometime next week. I've also had a maintenance man up here who went through those 4 units and made all the necessary repairs and improvements that needed to be done to make them habitable. So that has been done, and then simultaneously, while we're doing those things, we met with Wells Fargo, which is was a real treat. We still don't have the bank accounts open. He said it would take 2 weeks, and I think right now it's today would have been 3 weeks. But one of the big issues was that they didn't have an IRS EIN letter, which I was able to get. So I had a CPA that I do a lot of business with, get with the IRS, and she got me the letter the next day. So we got that part taken care of. I talked to the banker last Friday. He's getting all the account information ready so that Daniel and I can go over and sign all the signature cards, and we'll be what Wells Fargo calls the key people on all the accounts. We're actually opening new accounts because I didn't want to assume something. I wanted to start from zero effectively and go forward for, you know, our tenure, and then we'll keep the existing accounts that have been in place for however long open for probably 60 days, and then that'll give them time for checks to clear and whatnot, and then we'll close those up. Let's see. I've been talking with people at Southwest Housing about the rent contract renewal on Pete Dressen. Although we're not effectively managing it yet, I was trying to help Frank get that thing taken care of, because the utility analysis needs to be provided as part of the package. And Frank was gathering signatures from residents and account numbers for both gas and electric accounts, and he got some help from one of the people I had here. I finally got all that information the day before yesterday, and I have a call in to a person at the gas provider and the electric provider, and hopefully by Monday or Tuesday I'll have all of the 12 months of data for each of those units' accounts for both utilities, and then I will submit my package to Southwest Housing Compliance Corporation. It was all due by August 1st, so, and I've stayed in communication with them on a regular basis, and in fact today we got an email from the lady that's monitoring that, and I told her I was pretty close finally, so that's moving forward. I got to talk to them, know about finding out what we can do to try to get a bigger rent increase than just what they call a cost of living increase, because obviously that property needs money. So, but I know I got to get all those units rented first before they probably want to talk to me about that. There's 10 vacancies over there right now at Pete Dressen. Talked to the accounting firm up in Ada, Oklahoma that does your monthly financial reports. I talked to him one day last week, Ronald Erlau, and we had an educational phone call, educational to me. I'm sure it was a waste of time for him, but he was helpful. And I'm, you know, still looking at exactly what my recommendation is going to be with regard to that, whether to continue using him or to, which I usually do, is I do all the accounting in-house and pay all the bills and then send financial reports out to the to the property owner every month. So when I come back to y'all at the next board meeting, I'll have more of an official recommendation on a lot of these things, and give you an idea of where I think we need to go, what the best method's gonna be to operate effectively, and also from a financial standpoint. I've had 3 virtual meetings with Brenner Stiles regarding the process of managing public housing. Just today, early this afternoon, I got myself and the lady that runs my accounting department, we're now officially have access to locks, which is where the money comes from for that property. So that's been a process, and Brenner has been quite helpful. teaching us, things that we need to learn. As you all know, I've never done public housing before. And so there is a learning curve involved, but I've got people who work for me who have done public housing in the past, and so that's very helpful. One of my regional directors, who was here the first week of September, and will be back again next week to work at Pete Dreesen. She's got several years in public housing, so she's been attending all the meetings with Brenner, as well as the lady that runs my accounting department. We have, as I mentioned, 4 vacancies. I was actually surprised they weren't in bad condition. They were just vacant, brand new stoves and refrigerators sitting in the middle of the room, with 3 of them. And so we've got all that done, and made the minor repairs or whatever repairs. One of them had mold in it, so that took my maintenance man quite a bit of time to correct. But they're all ready to go, and my community director, like I said earlier, is working on getting people moved into them. So let's see. We're going to reestablish community policies. My company does unit inspections every month to make sure that the residents are maintaining the structure. Of course, with COVID, there hasn't been any unit inspections done in some time. And based on records, it's hard to say when there was. The requirement of HUD is once a year, but I've always done it monthly just to keep the structures in better condition and the residents aware that we're watching, that they maintain the property according to the agreement we have with them. So that's something we're going to change. And then we're going to, reestablish community policies, just because we don't know when the last time that was really discussed with everyone. And so we're in the process of putting together a package that we'll distribute to everyone, and then start following those rules a little more closely. I established an account with Tenant Tracker, which is the company we use to do credit, background, and sexual offender checks on all prospective residents. And then every year when we do recertification, we run those again to make sure that everybody's in good order. That has not been done. So I set that account up, and along with that, with Tenant Tracker, they have a sister company called Call Insights, and they provide a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week answering service that is automated, but you can, if my community director's not in the office, she's out on the grounds, or wherever, she doesn't answer the phone after a certain number of rings, it automatically goes. The resident can record a complaint for maintenance request. If it's an emergency, they get a live person who will immediately call the manager or the maintenance man. So that's already in place. The answering service portion doesn't cost anything. Well, it does, but it's built into the credit background and sex offender checks. But those things have to be done. We need to check on everybody regularly, at least once a year. So we already did that. I'm setting up a software program to keep up with detailed records on each unit, rent collections, recertification dates, etc. Everything that I've seen that has been done in the past, has been done on kind of a quasi pegboard type system, which is so antiquated. It just baffled me, but nonetheless, I'm in the process of getting that put together, and we will be establishing that. As part of that, I had my IT guy go in and take a look at that computer that's in the office, and he emailed me back. What I wanted him to do was to bring it up to Microsoft 10 because it was still 7, which is no longer serviced, and it wasn't working properly. And so he took a look at it and emailed me and said that thing needs to be replaced. And so I emailed Daniel last Thursday or Friday. He gave me the okay. I told him I was going to spend $800 on it. I actually spent $449, bought it from Amazon, and then we'll have some software costs. But I don't buy software. I rent it. It costs me about $12 a month or $6 a month per property for Microsoft. And that's the whole Microsoft Office package and everything else. And anyway, so that computer was delivered to my office yesterday morning from Amazon. My IT guy got on it yesterday afternoon, loaded it up with everything. And then Gloria, the lady that runs my accounting department, drove up here this morning and installed it. So there's now a working computer in the office that's got Microsoft 10 and, you know, actually is an effective tool. So that's been done. And I got a new monitor, but it was a donation from one of my properties that had a very good condition used monitor, I don't know, 21 inch or whatever it was. And so that property donated it to Kyle, so just to save y'all some money. Let's see. I could go on, but you know, I'd like you to, in another 45 days, I'll give you a written plan. Once, you know, and the only reason it's gonna take that long is because I got delayed on peat dressing. So I gotta find out all the condition of that, and we'll be working on that starting next week. I've got a crew coming up here, I think I mentioned, they're gonna start going through all those units and everything. And one of the things that I do know that Frank told me about is that one of those units at Pete Dressing is used as a storeroom. And I guess that means it's got old appliances in it and whatever else. I hadn't been in it, so I don't know. But, you know, based on what the rent is, I think it would be more practical, even if we had to rent a mini warehouse and move that stuff if it's worth keeping, and then get that unit rented. That would be more income than it would just having a vacant unit sitting there, losing money every month as a storeroom. Doesn't make sense.
Or put a portable shed or something in.
Or do something like that. And again, before we go, I told my people, I said, when you go up there next week, I want you to analyze all that equipment and whatever's in there and see if it's worth keeping. If it's junk, we need to get rid of it. You know, anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's just stuff that needs to be dealt with. And it's going to take me a little longer because of the delay by the HUD office on the peat dressing property. So that is everything I can think of at the moment. If y'all have questions, I'll be glad to try to answer them. It's going to be an ongoing, you know, I think I told you when we had that in my proposal and in our virtual meeting on July 29th that is gonna take me about a year to a year and a half, maybe even a little longer, to figure out and get this thing turned around, or these things turned around. And after being here and, you know, early September, and my people being here all the time, I firmly believe that that's pretty accurate. And, you know, one of my biggest concerns is where the money's gonna come from to take care of some of this stuff, because, like, we got 10 vacant units at Pete Dressen. I know they're not gonna be, that's gonna cost some money to get those ready. And I also, as I understand it, Pete Dressen is, you know, the one that has the worst financial condition, obviously because of the vacancy, but that project is even more difficult to operate even when it's full. And I heard that from the CPA that does your books.
Yeah.
I have reviewed the January, which is 7 months into the fiscal year that just ended in June. That's the most recent set of books I've had prior to today when Frank gave me a copy of June. And when I talked to that bookkeeper up in Oklahoma, I asked him to send me everything from February through what he had done, but he hasn't done that yet. I sent him a follow-up email today, and he responded answering a question that I asked, but he still didn't send the financials. And so, and Frank's scanner doesn't work, so he can't scan his copies of it and send them to me. I guess I may just take what he's got, take them to my office and scan them in and then bring them back. But y'all been in that office over there? It's got a copier in there that's about as big as a small semi. It's gotta be 30 years old. Nobody makes them like that anymore.
Yeah, it probably still works.
The scanner doesn't.
It's a Xerox too, probably.
It's a Xerox?
Yeah, so, well, Steve, I need to introduce you to David Salazar. He's also a fellow commissioner.
How you doing? It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So,
It was just leased 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
say it again?
It was just leased 6 years ago.
Really? It was at least 6 years ago. God, you just don't see them like that anymore. But anyway, we gotta get it working. That's, you know, because once we get these, you know, start moving these leases and everything, we've gotta be able to scan these documents, because you know, we do everything in the cloud. And, you know, we gotta get rid of the piles of paper everywhere, you know, start scanning things in and, you know, we just gotta change the way things are being done, that's all, so. At any rate,
Well, I'll open the floor up to fellow commissioners. I talk to Steve more often than he likes, so the floor is y'all.
I think I'll start by thanking you again for, you know, helping us and working us through this process. You know, it's not gonna be a miracle that fixes itself overnight. We understand that. We also know how HUD operates, and HUD's gonna expect immediate change and immediate closing of like the MOR and stuff. And I just want you to know that we're here to support you in that effort too, to say, no, one, we've got a funding issue. Two, there's a lot that needs to be worked on. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen on a 30-day plan, a 60-day, 90-day. You know, we get to the new year, we're probably looking at closing some of this out. But again, they just approved you, so the time clock kind of starts today.
right,
And so, so we appreciate the work you've done and the homework you've taken home with the project and already got ahead of being on EIV. So you couldn't even get EIV access really until tomorrow at the earliest.
I've actually done that already.
Oh, okay.
We already had done that, so.
Okay, that's perfect.
I didn't even mention the MOR or the REAC inspections because I haven't I've read them myself, but I haven't focused on them yet. I gotta get my arms around what's there first.
Yeah.
And then deal, and then part of it is, you know, the 100% unit inspection. That helps with dealing with the REACT too, so
Exactly.
we'll get all that done. Anyway,
I'd also just like to express, one, our thank you for the thorough information. I'm sure you've been extremely busy trying to get up to speed with our properties, but officially, hopefully, October 1, we'll have that approval for you for both of them. I do want to recognize that we've had quite a bit to do in these last few years, and that Frank has tried to help us stay afloat and do all of that. I think what's going to be the difference for us is being able to leverage even what you bring. It's so much for just one person to do, and being able to leverage the resources that you're bringing to this relationship is going to make a huge difference for us, and we're very excited about where that goes. I also echo what Brad just said, that we want to support you. We want this to be a successful venture because ultimately we want these properties to be something that we're proud of in the community, that our residents are proud of, so that we can continue to maintain that affordable opportunity for them with housing. So thank you very much, Steve, and anything that we can do to support you as a commission, please don't hesitate to ask.
and I will say, you know, I didn't mean to, you know, slight it at all, but, you know, Frank's been very helpful and cooperative with us. And he and I had a good, you know, meeting at the outset when I first showed up out here. You know, we laid a plan out, and then, you know, we're still working towards that plan. So, and he and I discussed that again this afternoon. So.
Yeah, no slight intended. I just know sometimes we don't have a chance to tell Frank too. We know it's been a bit of a mess at times, and so I also wanted to make sure we echoed that for him too.
Okay.
For my part, I appreciate Steve coming in with the knowledge and background that he has and the connections, and he's really gonna get on it. I really hope that y'all give him all the support, and I think you will, because he means well. He wants to be a success, not only for himself, but for the community here in Kyle.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
about how much support we'll give them,
Well, and just a FYI, I didn't bring my community director here tonight. I'll bring her to the next meeting. But she's worked with me for 21 years. I mean, she's been working on a HUD property in San Antonio that houses people with chronic mental illness for about 13, 14 years. So, and she just happened to tell me right about the time that this all started, you know, back in June, I think it was, that, you know, she was looking for a new challenge after all those years. So what I did was I hired her daughter, who's 24, to take her job and brought her up here.
That's great.
So, and her daughter knew all those people because they live on the property. That's a requirement from HUD. And so it was a real easy transition to move her into that and bring Letitia up here.
Perfect.
And I'll have her here, like I said, for the next board meeting. So.
All right, unless there's anything else, that ends our agenda.
I have a quick question on the vacants. So you've looked at the 10? The
No.
10 Oh, you haven't looked at,
No,
just the
we're
4?
gonna look at the 10 next week.
Okay, so the 4, maybe I got confused. So the 4 the plumber's working on, those are
Plumber
vacant?
got everything approved on those yesterday.
Okay,
And they're ready for, the permits have been issued and they're ready, they're green tagged and ready to be turned on.
okay, perfect.
So as soon as we get people to move in them, then they can get them turned on.
Yeah, okay. I was just gonna ask a material question, but I don't think you're prepared to answer that, so.
The only other thing I will say about the plumber, and I mentioned earlier that we don't normally have to do all those steps that were required, but he charged us $550 a unit, so that was $2,200 to get the gas set up in those 4 units.
That's what Frank needs to do for a living then, right?
And Frank, that's gonna be an ongoing, right?
Yeah.
Every unit?
Yeah,
Well, I've started to turn them to landlord units, so.
Oh, okay.
the gas, for example, will stay on, but they'll begin charging us whatever the minimum fee until we put a renter in there. I've been doing that with PEC as well. But we don't have a problem with getting an inspector, getting the city to come over and all rigmarole we're gonna go through with the city.
Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper.
It's on the
than-
gas is where
Yeah.
that,
Little bit of charges us monthly is cheaper than $5.50.
yeah.
Yes.
Well,
That's one of the fees they do for turning the meter on.
Yeah.
and it's, because it had equipment sitting there that wasn't connected, you had to get my maintenance guy couldn't hook up a stove because it's gas.
Because
He
of the
could plug it
city,
in if it was electric,
because of the city,
right?
city ordinance.
That's all about fees is what that is, you know, so.
So on those, what do you think, Frank, from a material standpoint on those 10 units? Are we talking door replacements and flooring, wall repairs? Do you have kind of an idea? I'm just, one, there's the material shortage, and then there's the cost of, projected cost of what it's gonna take to get those 10 units.
During the
Back
freeze,
online.
a lot of the units that are vacant had broken water lines, and they caused some water damage. Some sheetrock's gonna have to be replaced, and some exterior works is gonna have to be done to repair where the plumber had to break into the unit. And the plumber at the time, I don't wanna criticize him at all, but he had to do things fast.
Yeah.
The water was leaking,
So he didn't-
losing water, and he couldn't find parts. There weren't any here in Kyle, Austin. He had to go to Georgetown and Round Rock to try and get parts and then come back. And we're not his only client. So I didn't like him, but of course he went to the private side where he could get paid right away and charge whatever he had to. So those units are gonna need some work. Eventually the roof on all of them will have to get fixed. And Charles Young, we had roof replaced a few years ago, so they'll last a few more years.
And I think as we get, more cash flow coming in, we can look at maybe a insurance claim on that. Bring out the carrier and have them look. We've had some hailstorms, so hopefully there's enough up there that we might be able to do a claim on it.
Well, we'll go through the 10 units and we'll prioritize them. What's the easiest ones to get them ready and get them out. Work on the worst ones, at the end as opposed to the beginning.
Yeah.
And we'll have more income coming in and it'll be a little easier to do it that way, so. But, and then once, we figure out all the little rules of the city of Kyle, then I'll, do things like, I thought about, we should just keep that service on in the owner name, and then when the resident moves in, have them switch it back out, when they leave. So we'll work all those little simple things out. It just takes time.
That's all I have.
Well, and then I just wanted to say, I appreciate all the work that Frank has put into our properties and everything, and we welcome you and your team here. We look forward to a long and fruitful relationship. So thank you for the residents.
Okay. Well,
All right, so with that, it's 7:04. I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Commissioner Salazar, and we got a second?
Second.
All right, well, 7:04. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
nice to meet everybody.